Welcome to the Hunt, Gather, Nurture podcast, your go to for an insider's look into the world of entrepreneurship. I'm Jason Burke, founder of The New Primal, and I'll be your guide as we explore the stories of visionary entrepreneurs reshaping industries to build remarkable businesses. With products in over 10,000 retail locations, I know firsthand the challenges and triumphs of the entrepreneurial journey. Join us as we uncover invaluable insights, practical advice, and other inspiring tales straight from the trenches. Our goal is simple: to empower you to succeed by learning from those who have blazed the trail before you. So grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's dive into this entrepreneurial adventure together. Man, I think we're in for a treat today. I've got my friends Kevin and Monte here, and they're building something really special, something really different. I've talked a lot about better for you CPG brands. I've talked to a bunch of investors recently. I've talked to a bunch of investment bankers. I've talked to a bunch of brokers, but I haven't talked to a lot of founders lately. So, it's really exciting for me as a founder to get back to a group of founders and talk about how they're building and what they're building. And this one's different because um, I don't know a lot about beverage. I know a lot about food, but I don't know a lot about beverage. So I'm hoping to learn about beverage from some experts here today. And so I want to jump right in with Kevin. I'm going to start with you, my man. Look, you didn't have a background in beverage or in spirits. Why vodka?
Yeah, so I think it stems from first the mindset, right? So I've always been a dreamer. So, very early on, literally we would daydream hours upon hours. My sister would get us in a room and we just dream. So that thing of like you could dream anything into existence was always there, right? And for me, how I believed it would take shape is some form of entrepreneurship. So that was, I would say, the hard wiring. And then I was on vacation in France. I met a master craftsman. And, if you know anything about France, specifically the Cognac region, for centuries, they've been mastering the craft of spirits. So, that's kind of how it led to spirits. And then vodka in particular, I didn't want to do anything aged. So it was really, it's always been thinking portfolio, but where to start. I didn't want to do anything aged. So it was really vodka or gin. And, I was more drawn to vodka. And that's kind of why we decided to do vodka to begin with.
Love that. So was there a certain moment in France where it just hit you and you went, oh, this is it? Was it on that tour or tell me about that moment?
Yeah, it's, one, prior to that, my relationship to alcohol was very much just the consumption side, right? I was a consumer. I hadn't really seen behind the scenes. So again, to be welcomed by this guy who is a master of his craft, and you really can tell when you're talking to someone how passionate they are, right? You could tell, okay, this person is a novice or they're just doing it for a check. But when you start seeing how passionate someone is, it gets you excited, right? Because you're also passionate about kind of entrepreneurship and dreaming. So that formed the perfect storm, if you will. And it was like, all right, he's open to do something. I've always wanted to do something. Let's go ahead and rock and make something happen.
Love that. Love that. So one more question for you, and I'm going to jump to Monty about this story. So what was like your first mistake? Like the one that, like your first mistake in all this?
Man, first mistake was you put the product on the shelf and you're like, we want, we good. And you realize that, entrepreneurship, especially in the spirit space, it's a contact sport. You can't sit behind a desk and just, will the brand to success. You really got to get out there. You got to learn. You got to get scrappy. So I'd say the first mistake was just not knowing what it took to cut through.
That's my first mistake too. I think that's common among first time entrepreneurs and particularly in food and bev. We all think the win is the retail distribution. And then we end up on shelf and we're like, yes. But then you realize no one knows who you are, no one cares who you are, and no one knows why they should be buying you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. The contact sport I'm going to take with me though. I'm going to steal that. I like the verbiage. I'm gonna steal that with my team. I've got a team meeting later today, and I'm gonna be like, guys, it's a contact sport.
There you go.
I'm taking it. So I just want to let you know. I'm not going to trademark it or anything, but I am taking the lingo.
All good, all good.
Monty, you had a successful corporate career. Um, why did you leave Diageo?
A lot of times I think when people talk about transition, it seems to bubble up that they were running away from something. I think for me in particular, I was actually running towards something, and that was ownership. When you're inside the machine, it's very much about optimization. When you're outside, it's about creation, and it was just something innate within me that led me towards, the entrepreneurial world itself. You're building something, you're going through the ups and downs. You're sometimes alone, and even alone can be with a team, but it's such a smaller group or a smaller subset. Having an opportunity to do something collectively on your own to create something that actually makes an impact, regardless of what industry it's in, it's just super fulfilling. And I think for me, it was just always wanting to get into that space where you're creating, you were driving that demand.
Man, Monty, you just fired me up, man. That's I'm serious. That's a great answer. Um, and it did just like it got me all excited about the creating outside of the machine, like getting outside of the machine and creating. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm an entrepreneur that stuff fires me up, but
But you get
uh,
it.
I get it, man. That fires me up. So, what did you see? Like, what did you see at a global? I mean, Diageo's a big company, right? This is a
Yeah,
global giant that you were a
yeah.
part of. What did you see there? That smaller brands you think kind of consistently misunderstand?
I I would say again, the big machine, they focus a lot on systems. And a lot of times smaller brands don't realize how important it is to focus on that ecosystem of systems, right? When you think about us in CPG in particular, it's all about retail. We're looking at margin, we're looking at consumers, where smaller brands kind of lean in on the story. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So the and it's very important, but it's about where you focus your attention on. And that's again have an opportunity to come from a big company like Diageo. I was able to see it and grow up in that environment so that as we brought things home with Blackleaf, it was us looking at it from a couple of different lenses. You don't want to lose that audacity to win that entrepreneurs have, but you also want to do it in a way that's very meaningful and very focused. You know what I mean? Because there's I guess ups and downs on both sides, right? So the flip side of it is a lot of times the big companies they tend to think that loyalty is forever, and it's not. You know what I
mm,
mean? So
mhm.
it's an opportunity to take a little bit of both worlds and create something special.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Um, and it's the systems that I'm 14 years into building something. It's the
Mm.
systems that I still resist. I kind of want to just keep ready, fire, aim. And you have to have those as you scale, or it will fall apart. Um, and really good point about sometimes the bigger brands kind of rest on their laurels and think that loyalty is just a given. I think founder led marketing is really powerful, and people really resonate with founders when they can tell their story and articulate it in a really clear and authentic way. I would much rather buy my products from guys like you than some nameless, faceless global giant per se. As a consumer. What I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Kevin. What do you felt like you got wrong early on or right out of the gate?
Yeah, it almost goes back to that story about the big companies really focusing and thinking that loyalty is forever. I think the inverse is coming out. You're so passionate that you sometimes romanticize that passion, and you realize that at the end of the day, I say this very loosely when I say nobody cares because people care. But at
Yep.
the end of the day, it's more about what problem can I help you solve, Mr. Customer, versus me telling you how great I think we are. You know what I mean? So going into it, you have this energy and it's very robust, and you realize very quickly that I don't care how great your product is. I don't care how passionate you are. At the end of the day, if you don't understand my why, you're not going to be on my shelf. You know, and being able to really articulate their pain was what way more important than articulating why we're doing what we're doing.
Really, really good answer. And I hope people hear that. I hope people listening, really, entrepreneurs should hear that because we do that. We get excited about the bullet points, about how great this is, about how premium it is, about how, how it's so good, how it tastes so good or whatever. Man, they're like, how you going to help me win? They've got their own goals, right? They have their own customer needs. They got their own metrics to hit. So I think that's a really good, really valid point, and one that's very, very clearly battle tested, and you have lived firsthand. So I appreciate that answer. Man, I feel like you guys, I feel like you're in my head. I feel like you're in my head, um, and I'm a slow learner. I feel like you're learning way faster than I learn this stuff. All right, either of you can take these next set of questions. I'll let you guys decide who's going to take each one. I want to jump into like some of the brand and some of the differentiation about what you're offering. So, first question is, what does certified organic actually mean in the spirits world? Is it marketing or is it actually meaningful?
Yeah, no, it's definitely meaningful. So for us, it's the ingredients, right? So our grain, which we use wheat, is grown without any pesticides, any herbicides. So it's really a unique take on it, right? When we started out, organic wasn't popular, but it was a point of view that we felt, I always say this right now, if anyone talks about AI, it's inevitable, right? You just know that, okay, it's dominated. In a similar way, I had that belief that organic practices should be everywhere. And even beyond organic, sustainability, which is something we embrace, should be everywhere. But when we looked around, people weren't doing it. So we're like, all right, let's go ahead and take that unique perspective. And what's been encouraging is over time, the trends have caught up to what we believe. So we're very clear that we're pioneers in believing and we're not chasing the trend. So that for us is, one, what organic is just the ingredients. And then obviously we take it a step further with sustainability, which is the entire process. And that's kind of our unique point of view, our brand DNA, and something we truly believe in.
Do you feel like most consumers know that now, or they're starting to know that now versus in the last 5 years, 10 years? Do you feel like people knew that organic in the spirits world was important or that there was real differentiation?
Say, Kevin, I'm sorry. I'd say coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people in particular started to focus succinctly on what they're really consuming in their body, right? So at the end of the day, yes, it's still alcohol, but sustainable products, organic products, understanding the pipeline of products. You started hearing about GMO a lot more, and just people, there was a heightened awareness that has not died down coming out of the pandemic with people being extremely mindful of what they are purchasing and what they're consuming. So, being in a food and beverage space, if you think about, people wanting better for you, what more things would you want better for you than the things that you're actually putting into your body?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I think that's right. I think that's spot on. And I think it's really important as you think about chasing trends versus, being pioneers in spaces. Like you really have to be able to stand on a core belief and hang in there until like it presents itself in the marketplace overall. Because usually when you're creating a category or you're pioneering something that's not that prevalent, you kind of have to hang on a bit. You believe in it, it's coming, and you just kind of have to hang on a bit. I mean, look at the category that I'm in, which is meat snacks and meat sticks in particular. Um, it's the fastest growing category in grocery today. But 14 years ago, no one cared. When you talk
Uh-huh.
about how no one cared, they're like, it's this afterthought. Maybe it's at the checkout lane. Maybe it's this impulse buy that someone did. Today, people pantry stock this stuff for their afternoon snacks to make sure they're getting their protein consumption as opposed to, this thing that they buy on a road trip only. So you kind of have to see what's coming. I think it was Wayne Gretzky who said, you skate to where the puck is going.
Mm.
And I think that's a really powerful way to think about building categories and pioneering, but you have to have some vision and hang on because it doesn't always present itself right away. And in fact, you get the opposite. Sometimes people tell you you're crazy. So I I
And I
appreciate
mean,
that.
there's a lot of parallels because literally, when you think about growth, organic vodka, that's what's driving growth in the vodka category right now. You know, it was small, niche, but it's growing. The growth
Yeah.
rate is the fastest in the category.
So there you go. So you're driving the growth now, right? That's meaningful and important to your primary retail partners and distributors, right? And then it's proof that there's a consumer out there that's asking for something better. What does do you still have a relationship today with that master distiller you met overseas over in France?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he still makes the product.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely the bigger we get, obviously the bigger his operation gets. So we're very much tied. He's been a good partner, and yeah, long may it continue.
So everything that you do now is being produced in France.
Correct. Yep.
That's
So
right.
French made. Yep. So American company, but French made.
Love
Yep.
that. Love that. Love that. Hey, you were in the cognac region, but what other, just personally, I was in France. I was in the south of France a couple of years ago, and man, I really fell in love with the entire region. You have a favorite part of the country?
Oh man. Different parts for different reasons. I mean, I love Paris. I was actually in Monaco, south of France, last year. So I love that area as well. Yeah, I love all the parts for different reasons. I love cognac, obviously, because not only, do we have like a community there, but it's also, when you're there, just looking at all the Hennessy is there, all the behemoths that are all in this
Yeah.
small. It's very inspiring, all in this small geography.
Yeah.
So I like all a lot of different parts for different reasons. I
Yeah.
don't have a favorite.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair answer. I would say that the takeaway there is like I'm always inspired when I get around artists like that, right? That are true artists of their craft, and I always come up with really great ideas, whether I can go implement them or not, just because I'm so inspired by the energy and the love and the passion they put into their craft. Um, okay, so let's talk about the category and the brand just a little bit more. So do you think that the premium vodka category, and you might have a different definition of premium, so you can check me on this, but do you think the premium vodka category is crowded?
I'd say the vodka category itself, just like many other categories, are crowded. Premium in particular. So here's the brand education piece, right? When we as insiders talk about premium, it's a price point, right? So you have different tiers. You have value, you have standard, you have premium, you have super premium, so on and so forth, right? To the less, I would say, for those who aren't alcohol geeks like us, when they think premium, they're perceptively thinking about quality. So we kind of have to talk to both of those, right? So from a category standpoint, where we sit, we kind of sit between like your super premium and your standard or your mass premium, mass produced premium products, which is good for us because I won't throw out names of competitors, but if you think of a brand that everybody tends to think about today when they think of grabbing a vodka cocktail or vodka, it's a lower tier standard product, right? And then you think of some of the other ones that have provenance, like us being French, they're in the super premium. And we sit in that space of premium where people want to trade up from a quality standpoint. They think they want something that's super premium, but they don't want to pay the price that comes with the legacy that goes into how they're priced on the shelf. So from a premium standpoint, we're actually positioned extremely well for consumers because again, they want a better product, but they don't want to have to pay for the legacy that's part of the markup in a product.
Got it. Got it. I wanna put a whiteboard behind you guys and let you just start drawing this stuff out.
I know that was a
Um,
super geeky answer, but
no, it's
that's the
good,
alcohol
man.
nerd in me coming out.
No, it's good because you know, the the insider lingo sometimes doesn't mean what it what it means to consumers, right? And we use it too. I remember I launched the first grass-fed beef jerky ever.
Mm,
Um, and I would
nice.
go into meetings and they'd be like, "Oh, you're premium like XYZ brand." And I'm like, "No, man, they're not. What do you mean?" Because I was thinking about it from a consumer perspective and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not premium. But I think it's important to delineate and differentiate the difference there. Um, so would you say Blackleaf is product first or culture first?
That's a good one. I mean, I would say it's both. It's I would definitely say it's both, right? So obviously it starts with a product. So we literally have a big idea and a big brand idea. And it's sort of the fusion of the two. Our big product idea is making organic sexy. So even everything we've talked about, if it just ended at organic, Monte and I both have no interest in it. It is the full sentence, making organic sexy, where you can't tell where the organic and sustainability, starts and stops. And you can't tell where the aspirational cues, design start and stop. It's a perfect blend. So that is obviously the product. Now the big brand idea is laid back luxury, right? Which is, definitely culture driven as well. Because elements if you even take a step back, part of the inspiration behind all of this is we know culture, black culture, called like that builds brand. We've seen it with Ciroc, we've seen it with Hennessy, but on the ownership side, it's crickets, right? So, for us, it's important to we know that that's what works as well. So it's important to be authentic and kind of just lean into that aspect. So I don't know, Monte, if you have a different take, but I think it's definitely the combination of the two that we bring together in Black.
Yeah, I would just say, Kevin, to land that I think culture will get you tried, but the product itself, the quality will get you reordered, right? So again, it's a strong 1A, 1B, you know what I mean? You have to lean into the product. Culture will help drive the attention around the product. And, one doesn't necessarily coexist without the other in the way that we're moving.
Great answers, guys. Really good stuff. Okay, I got one more of those for you, and then I want to move into some hard stuff. But in a world full of like celebrity spirits, right? We've seen so many celebrities align themselves with brands. Like, how do you compete without a famous face?
Oh man. Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead, Kevin.
Is, you see the headlines, you see the celebrities, everyone thinks that is the silver bullet. The reality is the vast majority of celebrity brands fail, right? And the reason why they fail is because of authenticity. So if you have some random person get aligned with Kanye West has this funny thing about Lady Gaga. He's like, what does Lady Gaga know about Kodak? but
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's like the authenticity. These marriages, if you will, are just slapped together. It's like, okay, we've got product, which is already conceived, and oh, we see this guy, he's got, a following. Let's just put it together and hope that it lands. Nine times out of 10, it fails. So for us, it's really just, again, having that unique point of view, being authentic in how we move. That is our differentiator, right? If you see all the wild successes in the space, if you take a look at Grey Goose, if you take a look at Tito's, they just built their brands off of a unique point of view that resonated with consumers. So we're taking that approach. It's definitely a longer game, but I think it's a game that is, or it's a lane that has a foundation, it has roots. You can kind of build it. It's not a flash in the pan. You have the ability to last longer because it's not just, you chasing something which is not going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I laugh because I wrote not too long ago a whole article about that and posted it on my LinkedIn account. So it's something we think about quite often. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I asked you because I thought it might resonate, and
yeah.
um, I feel very passionately about the same subject. One of my I wouldn't even call them competitors, but one of the people in my space recently partnered with one of the person that has the largest YouTube following in the world, and
Mm,
co-branded a product.
uh-huh.
And I wrote about like why authenticity matters, and that you can't buy that. You can't buy this authentic, genuine following. You can't buy that. Not anymore, at least, right? Consumers are way too savvy. I also have a friend who um was a part of a sauce business that, again, one of the most popular celebrities on planet Earth
Mm,
backed and invested in, and thought, oh, this is going to blow us up. They're going to talk about us. And, they put some social posts out, and he called me up. He goes, hey, man, do you know how many sales, how many dollars in sales we did after they tweeted about us? And I said, how many? He goes, zero. And so,
mm,
it doesn't mean that that's always the way that that's going to work out. But I do think that this next gen consumer, or even consumers, have evolved. And it's like, I don't care, because LeBron James is selling Sprite doesn't mean I'm going to go drink Sprite. Like, I actually don't believe that he drinks Sprite. You can't be a
Right.
world class athlete, and that dude's out there telling me he's drinking Sprite after practice. It doesn't do anything for me. So anyway, we could go on and on. I could get on a soapbox. I'm going to stop. All right, let's move into. I want to talk about self distribution. So, what did that teach you that like no business accelerator could ever teach?
Yeah, no, so I'll definitely take that one. So, coming into the game, how the industry works is it's a three-tier system. So you have, manufacturers, suppliers, you've got basically that tier, and then you've got the middle tier, which are the distributors. And then you have the retailers. In the alcohol industry, there are three distinct tiers. It needs to go through all three. So the distributors end up becoming the gatekeepers, right? So it's a lot of times as a startup brand, it's very difficult to get distribution. So initially, it was again kind of just working behind the desk, sending out emails. It's like,
Yep.
okay, let's reach out to all the distributors. They gotta love it. It makes sense. Like, why
Yep.
would they not take it on? And it was just crickets, right? No responses. Luckily in DC, you have the ability to self-distribute.
Mm.
So when you have an idea in mind that, oh, this is gonna be easy, we're gonna connect with a distributor, they're gonna put us in hundreds of stores, it's gonna be simple. Then you face the realities of, all right, they're not replying. So you gotta now say, okay, I gotta take this thing out there. And at the time, I don't consider myself a salesperson at all. I have a finance background. Like, what do I know about spirit sales?
Yep.
So it was a very uncomfortable process, but ended up doing it, ended up saying, okay, so this is the only path forward. So let's give it a shot. And I will say that is, it was such a blessing because it was truly like school of hard knocks, right? It was, you're going out there, you're getting educated on your brand because again, it's not about, to Monte's point, it's not about how great we think we are. It's about how well we solve a problem, how well we fit on a shelf, how we tell that story to retailers, and then ultimately to consumers. So that exercise, really gave me the confidence that, okay, we've got something and we know how it works. So now if a sales rep comes and says, hey, this is not resonating, I know that not to be true because I've seen it firsthand. I've seen how consumers are reacting. I've seen how retailers are reacting. And then obviously, once we started gaining traction, distributors kind of saw that activity and they were willing to take us on.
A lot of entrepreneurs want to skip that step. They just want to be able to, they just want to get on shelf and start moving, and that early grind where you get all that education, it really matters. Yeah. Um, the 100 proof accelerator. What did that change for you?
Yeah, that was also early on. It was, I was definitely the smallest brand in the cohort. you had brands that were much, much further along, right? So it was good in that one, it kind of gave the confidence that, our positioning and our take was something that resonated, right?
Mm,
And then being there, being able to have a network of, brands that are much further ahead that you could call. They brought consultants in where you could talk about your tactical sales strategies. So it really showed that one, it gave the confidence that one, we're onto something because as we're having these conversations, you know, it's not like people are getting it, right? They're getting our positioning, the cohort, the program is getting our take. So I'd say really that and just kind of expanding the network and just giving the confidence that, hey, I see these people who are further along, they're dealing with some of the very same challenges. So it really just, again, that exposure to people who are more seasoned.
yeah, that matters. You don't feel like you're building sort of uh, in a vacuum all by yourself. It really matters to, one of the things whenever I started getting around people that were further up the hill than I was, um, I realized they were just like me. Like they had dealt with the same problems. It gave me so much confidence to know that someone else has dealt with that same exact issue, and if they can solve it, so can I. So can I. Um, what do you think breaks first? Brand, operations, capital?
I think capital. I definitely think
Yeah,
capital.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Undercapitalization kills more brands than a bad product ever will. You
Mhm.
know, you the right focus, the right consumer, the right marketing, the right strategy, the right partners, everything can be fine. But undercapitalization is a death by a thousand cuts. So I think without a doubt, capital.
Great answer. I did a whole series. I spent the entire year of 2025 interviewing people about raising capital because it's the
Mm,
number one question I get from other entrepreneurs whenever they come
mm.
to me for advice. It's how do I can you look at my deck? Everybody's saying no, and like what am I doing wrong? And I've got 6 months of runway. What do I do next? Right. I mean, I get so many of those. So I interviewed every investor and venture capitalist and angel and I was like, why don't you guys tell them? And so I spent the whole year on it because I totally and completely agree with that sentiment. Um, all right. Talking to some guys that are in spirits that are disrupting this world of spirits. You know, I say I'm gonna qualify what I say next with everyone has an opinion on categories. And the pundits and the experts are usually wrong. Um, in my opinion, they are. Uh, we had this whole movement around fake meat that everyone thought was going to be the next big thing. I don't really does your opinion on this is not that doesn't really matter in the context of this conversation, but um everybody thought that was the next big thing. I go to these big trade shows and then they tell you CBD and everything is the next big thing. And then they tell you, flaxseed is the next big thing. And now fiber is the next right, whatever. Um but there's a lot of noise right now that says that the next generation and Gen Z is drinking a lot less alcohol. Um, I don't know if they're sober curious. I don't know if it's because they care about wellness. But you're building a vodka brand in that reality where there's a lot of sentiment that says people are drinking less or consuming less alcohol. Um, like, how do you think about that? Is that a threat? Is that an opportunity?
I think it's very much an opportunity. So let's level set the conversation for a second. Do you like the vacation?
I love to vacation.
So about how many trips in a perfect world? How many vacation trips would you take a year?
Well, I would live on vacation in a perfect world, but in the context of building a business and having a family and doing all those things, man, I would love to take like 2 or 3 like week long at least vacations, and then I like to go somewhere quarterly, like a little mini quarterly getaway, a little 3, 4 day kind of get out. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
Every
So
every quarter.
so if we take that quarterly and those 3 on top of that, let's say you wanted to take 7 trips a year, right?
Yeah,
Now
love that.
let's just say you had to scale that down now to 1 a year.
Okay,
You'll probably want that 1 trip to be a lot more meaningful than you were when you were doing 7 trips a year,
no
right?
doubt.
You'll be much more intentional about that trip, right?
100%.
So, let's now level set that and think about drinking to some degree, right? People may be drinking less, but when they're drinking less, what likely does that mean for you? The drink occasion that they're leaning into has to be special, right?
Mm,
They're drinking better, you know? So for us, I think for us in particular, especially having a premium brand like Blackleaf, it's an opportunity because we know that there's consumption is continuing. People are now looking to drink better because it can't just be I'm going out and grabbing anything, anytime, in any place. And it has to be something meaningful. It has to be something that aligns with their values, right? So I
yep,
mean, particularly if we level set that again against Gen Z, when you look at the data, and I'm not suggesting the data is inaccurate by any means, but when we look at the full scope or the full breadth of the data, Gen Z, quite a few Gen Z drinkers are also under legal drinking age, right? So you have a
mhm,
group of people who were coming into a category who weren't legally drinking anyway, right? And the ones that were finding out or getting an opportunity to have their first drink, how do you win them over with something that's actually uh, something they will want to come back to? So for us, it's an opportunity to really see, you know what, okay, if you have a group of drinkers who are drinking, how can you recruit those? How can you retain those? And then for those that you're recruiting into the category, how do you make sure that you have a compelling story for them?
yeah, yeah. I love that. So do you think that people then would you say when they are choosing to drink, they're choosing better alcohol instead of just more alcohol?
Yeah, I think when volume declines, quality wins every time.
Love that. Love that. So in that sense, just to validate that, organic might matter more to Gen Z or the next gen than a non-organic product.
Definitely. That's what we're seeing, and that's why, again, the subcategory of organic, that is what is expected to drive growth. So for us, it's a little bit of, yes, there's vodka there, yes, there's spirits, but how do we show that we can own this organic and sustainable lane? Right? It's, we've been true to it from the beginning. How do we just continue really putting our marker down so when people are looking for that, they know that okay, Blackleaf is that choice to make.
Yep. Yep.
And
And you
and if I could add to that just quickly,
yeah, please.
so if we take the word organic and just put it away for a minute, what does an organic product mean in our world, right? So no herbicides, no pesticides, no chemicals, right? So if you look at it's just a better ingredients in, better product out. For that generation in particular, it's no longer just a headline, it's somewhat the actual baseline, right?
Mm,
It's the baseline. It's expected to have better and more authentic brands. So I think they're very smart consumers. They know what they want. And if they don't find or can't find what they want, they'll go somewhere else or do without. So it's
yep.
on us to give them, what they're looking for.
You're in my head, Monty. I was gonna ask you if it's table stakes or not today, and you just answered it, so you just crushed it, man. Kevin, go ahead. You had something.
I'm actually gonna say I feel like I lost my train of thought. It was along the lines of, let me see if I can remember. If not, we could just move on. Um, we can move on. If I
Okay.
think I'll mention it.
All right. Well, here's the main takeaway here. If consumption per capita keeps declining, how do you win?
I feel like Monte kind of mentioned that. It's really, people are choosing better, right? They're
Yeah.
drinking less, so they're being more intentional with their choices. So therefore, what we offer up is, leaning into that, and it speaks to what they care about.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's an excellent question. I guess I don't think we've ever been asked that before, but that's such an excellent question because it's the world that we play in, you know. So how do we win? We win share of occasion.
Mm,
We win for having a product that you can trade up to. We win culturally relevant moments. We win from the macro standpoint to land down into the micro standpoint, you know, and just have an opportunity to tap into the experience that comes around the drinking occasion.
really good answer.
And actually, so what I was gonna say, going back to again the product quality and the intrinsics, is the generation prior, right? When they talked about premium, it was very much marketing. We would put it in a fancy bottle, premium. We would, say French for French sake, premium. We would do all of these things. Whereas, our take on premium is actually making intentional decisions. Like Monte said, better products in, better product out. So, yes, it's more costly to go organic, but for us, it's not just premium as a flex, as a topical surface level. It's really quality in how it's being crafted.
Yeah. Yeah, how it was meant to be, in my opinion. And look, I'm getting older, and I've always been a bit of a well, not always, but when my parents were diagnosed with chronic illnesses, and that got me really interested in diet and nutrition and food and how it impacts us holistically. Um, yeah, man, if I'm gonna eat a steak, it's gonna be from a quality farm. If I'm going to have a cocktail, man, I'm not drinking that cheap liquor up there. You better bring me something good. It's just I'm just not doing it anymore, right? I'm not doing that to my body. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And the intentionality here around how you win in under the circumstances where it appears as if there might be a decline in per capita consumption, the share of occasion, the trading up, the culturally relevant moments. I think that's really important, and those are really strong bullet points and really strong points for most entrepreneurs to hear. Those are the types of questions you get in board meetings. Those are the types of
Mhm.
questions you get when investors are vetting you, and those are the types of answers that people who get funded and people who raise capital answer like. So I hope people grab onto that. I'm gonna re-listen to this like 4 times because of all of the golden nuggets so far. Okay. All right. So I'll talk about leadership here for a second and identity. So first question, Kevin, you take this one first. What does legacy mean to you?
Man, it's showing people that they too can do what we did, right? Which is two guys who had ambition, they had a dream, and they went out there against all odds and created something special. And we want that inspiration to be our legacy, so people can look at our story and say, we could do that too. And it doesn't even have to be vodka. It could be tech. It could be, other categories of CPG. It could be anything. But I think for us, that power to dream, that inspiration to dream, that's, at least one of the legacies that we want to leave as, people that are out there chasing our dream.
Love that. Monty, you want to add on to that?
Kudos. Nothing to add on that.
I love that. How do you guys balance ambition and sustainability, both personally and professionally?
I'll take a stab at that one. So I think for us, we're grounded. We're extremely grounded, whether it's in our why we're doing this, and what the opportunity looks like. We know that at the end of the day, we are building something that's special, but we can't take shortcuts or it will not be special, right? So the same sustainability comes to us being true to the brand at all times, right?
Mm,
Always understanding again, why are we doing this? What is the bigger goal? And when you think about, ambitions, so that from an ambition standpoint, you might say, hey, look, we want to be everywhere, we want to do everything and be everything for everybody. But the reality is that's a metric for failure, right?
mm,
It's how do we truly focus on doing the right things at the right time. So if the goal, the ambition is to be everywhere, well, the sustainability means, but let's start in our backyard, right?
Mm,
Let's go deep before we go wide. When you start talking about distribution, um, let's be very cautious of the partners and the partnerships and the collaborations that we do because, yep, you might get a quick lift, but if we're in this for the long game, then does that quick lift potentially hurt us on the back end? So it's being very mindful in the decisions that we make and looking at it from a marathon versus a sprint.
No, well said. One thing I'll add to that is, it's sometimes people romanticize just it's almost like the highlight reel, right? Where it's just like, hey, we just want to be big, we want to be successful, we want to be. I think for us, we take pride in having a good business,
mm,
right? So it's like, so that again, to Monte's point, no shortcuts. It's like just as much as we would love to, whatever 100 million valuation, a billion value, we want people to look at us and say, man, these guys did business the right way.
yep.
They were honorable. They just did operations excellently. I think that gets us excited as well.
There's a lot of vanity metrics out there, and it sounds like you guys aren't chasing those, which is really really important when it comes to building something durable. I had a conversation. Ironically enough, um, a couple of years ago, I was introduced to A Rod, the baseball player A Rod.
Yep.
And he's become quite the entrepreneur in his post baseball career. Um, and I had a conversation with him, and we were just talking business. And man, I was so impressed with his business acumen. Um, I didn't expect it. Like sometimes you're like, okay, a celebrity who's making investments or whatever, they're just throwing money around. They got a business manager doing most of their. I mean, he's really gets it. And he said to me, he said, Jason, he goes, just keep building like you're building something for the next 30 years. He's like, make every decision through that lens and you'll win. And it stuck with me, man. It was like, even if it like some of that was like inherent in my thinking, like that just like brought it home so well for me that every decision I make is through this legacy lens, through this long-term lens, and then you'll skip those quick hits, Monty, that you talked about, where it's like, maybe you get a lift, but it's not the long-term alignment that you're looking for, or, maybe you take a shortcut here, it saves you a little bit of money on something, but it's not the right thing for your consumer. And so, like, I think if you look at it through that lens, you'll grow sustainably. And that's how you kind of you keep it all together. Most entrepreneurs are so ambitious, we're chasing things so hard, and then everything in our life falls apart because we want to go wide and we want to be everywhere. And then suddenly it's like, you leave everything in the wake of that destruction. But building something durable means that those decisions are viewed through a lens of long-term thinking. Um, and I think that's how we all win. So you validated that for me. Thank you for that. Um, all right, I've got some quick hits, some rapid fires here, and then we'll wrap up. So, um, just give me the quick answers here, whatever comes off the top of your head first. Give me one myth about the spirits industry.
It's a cakewalk.
Okay, all right, I'll take it. It's a cakewalk. I'll take it. What's one thing the big brands get wrong?
I think I said it earlier, but that loyalty is permanent.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, what is one thing that small brands get wrong? You might have said that earlier. You can take the same answer, but if
They,
you got
they,
another
under,
one, you can give it to me.
they underestimate capital.
Yes. Yes. I
Yes.
think that's I did. Whatever you think you need, just go ahead and add 30% to it and probably have to do it more than you think.
Yeah.
Uh what does Blackleaf look like in 10 years?
Global leading brand.
Love that. Love that. If you weren't building Blackleaf, what would you be building?
I'd
Uh,
be building a oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Good. You go.
I'd be building a venture fund to support other people who want to build their versions of Blackleaf.
Yeah, I have African roots, so it'll be some sort of, something with Africa in mind.
I love this. God, man, I like I don't know, I wanna join you guys, like, you guys are like you guys just get it, man. All right, here's my closing question to you, um, and you've touched on some of this answer throughout your responses to me, so, you can summarize here, but, you know, what does winning mean to you now versus what it meant to you when you first started?
I'll jump in, Kevin. I'd say when we first started, winning to me was distribution. Now winning is velocity. It's not good enough to get on the shelf. It's to keep the product moving through the shelf. So that would be the industry answer. And I think from a personal standpoint, the answer would be when we first started, to me, winning was just being taken seriously.
Mm,
And now it's about being recognized as the go-to and the winner in the space.
Yeah, and I'll say, kind of going back to culture builds brands from an ownership standpoint, it's not equitable. Winning is showing that, not only can we create world-class brands objectively, which we didn't even get into how well regarded the product is, but that part, and then also showing that we can steward this brand to be that leading brand.
hmm,
And what that does is it breaks down barriers, right? It personally, as we scale, the people that we can open doors for, right? And just showing that, hey, it could be done. Cause that's the only way when other people come with great ideas, they get funded, they get the resources that they need. So I would say winning looks like breaking down barriers for us.
mm. I love that. Is there anything we didn't touch on, guys? Anything that you want to make sure that we convey to the audience listening today? There's a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to me and listen to these interviews. Sometimes there's a good cohort of people across CPG, both investors, brokers, distributors, a bunch of those types of folks as well. But I would say the core audience are entrepreneurs who are building just like you. They're all also consumers. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanna make sure that you get a chance to convey to the audience?
Think we covered quite a few things that were actually eye opening to me, things I had forgotten about, right? But I, I I would say to my fellow entrepreneurs out there, and your network is your network, and I think sometimes we take for granted that people are a text away, a phone call away, a DM away
Yep.
to helping us advance on the learning curve. You know what I mean? And, you know, let's reach out and let's really support each other because, like you talked about some of the questions that you got from other entrepreneurs when it was about capital and some, we have the same angst, we have the same ambitions to some level degree, and we could probably solve a lot of the ills that we have if we just started to connect cohort with each other a lot more. Yep, I can sit here and tell you, go drink our brand, go buy our brand, and I would love for you to do so. But I want all of us to win. And I think there's an opportunity to
Didn't mind.
I think he froze. Let's give him 30 sec 20 sec 15 seconds. See if he comes back. If not, you have to finish the sentence.
Right. Let's
Ke
see.
Kevin, you jump in here and see if you can text him and see if he wants to, like, refresh his screen and maybe he comes back. Oh, fun. Jump in and tell me your last words, maybe where people can find you, also, um, where they can get your products, things like that as well.
Yeah, and so I think what I wanted to share, this is really kind of getting more into just the product. So if as you said, consumers on the line, one thing I'll say, everyone talks about, hey, our brand is award winning, is this and that. I think it's important to show the caliber of awards that we won. So there are these very prestigious awards by the Tasting Alliance. Now, obviously, the thing we're most proud of is just how consumers react to the product. But
Mm.
when you have these well-established tasting competitions that tell us, hey, we're the best product in the world, right? And we've won 9 double golds, we've won 3 platinum, we've won all of these accolades. It's a real show that from a craftsmanship standpoint, we're doing the right thing.
Mm.
Where people can find us, the easiest way is to go on our website, blackleafvodka.co. You can find where we're in about 6 markets. We ship to 33 markets. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. That is where we are active.
Love that. Love that. We might be getting Monty back.
Right in, he was about to drop a heat rock.
Man.
It's the funniest thing. I can see you now. This is the first I just
You're right in the middle of a gem. I was like, oh man.
Edge of my seat, man.
it's that heat. I have no clue where it left off, but you have a strong cohort of folks out there, and I think there's an opportunity to lean into each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important. Um, we get real lonely. Entrepreneurs and can be very lonely if you don't tap into that network and you don't just reach out and just ask the questions. And, you never know. I mean, I asked you guys some questions today out of pure curiosity because stuff I want to learn from you. And then there's some questions that I know people are going to benefit from the answer. Um, and some stuff to remind me, right? Remind me as you evolve in this journey, you forget sometimes these little things that happen along the way, and they're really important to grab onto. What I love about this conversation, guys, and I so appreciate your time and the opportunity to have this conversation with you. What I love about this conversation is that it challenges, I think, a lazy narrative. Yes, the next generation is drinking less. Yes, culture is shifting. Yes, the old playbook doesn't work anymore. But what you're building is proving that a decline in volume doesn't mean a decline in opportunity. It means evolution. It means the consumer's thinking a little harder. They're drinking more intentionally. They're spending on fewer things, but better things. And I think that's where brands win. And so what I see in you is that Blackleaf isn't trying to out party the market, but they are trying to out position it. I see that you're not looking at organic as gimmicky, it's alignment. Cognac isn't geography, it's craftsmanship. Self distribution created a discipline inside of you, and the bigger founder the bigger founder lesson I think here, and really across any category, is that when the macro shifts occur, there's no reason to panic. It's time to like sharpen the skill. It's time, and so you know differentiating when the market contracts, going deeper when things seem noisier. Um, I think that's the lesson here, and so as Gen Z drinking, I don't think that kills the spirits market by any means, but I think it could kill mediocre spirits. I think it could kill average, below average stuff, and so I think the future does belong to brands that understand culture and not just consumption. So, the question to the rest of the universe out there is, whether you're building protein snacks or software or vodka, the question is like, is the market changing? Um, but that's really not that important. The question is, are you evolving and changing? And so, you guys, I respect what you do because you're building with intention, um, and you're building something worth choosing, and even when people are choosing less. So I really appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion. It's been great talking with you guys. I want to bring you back. I want to have a follow up. I want to talk to you a year from now and see what's happened and what's new and what's exciting. I want to follow along your journey, and I want to try some Blackleaf. I haven't tried it yet. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, the package.
looking forward to it, guys. Thank you again for the opportunity, and we'll talk again soon.
I'm good.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate the time.